What's up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to episode 1 of the Boochcast reviews, Darkside of the 2000s. And I'm excited to jump into this series. I did not expect Vice to come out with a show like this, but it does give me a chance to take a look back at the 2000s and all the craziness that went down there. And we are kicking things off with a show that, I'm going to be straight up honest, I did not watch entirely. But after seeing this review, not only am I glad that I never watched an episode, but I can honestly say that this episode revealed to me a woman who is hands down the most despicable woman in the history of reality TV. When you look back at reality TV, there's a lot of fucked up people in there. I know VH1 is a show dedicated to reality show villains, and I'm surprised the woman in this episode, the main woman, was not featured on that episode. Because I can't imagine anyone in reality TV more evil than the raggedy bitch we're going to be talking to. And of course, this is called Jon and Kate Plus 8 Family Circus. That's the title of this episode. And by the way, the raggedy bitch obviously I'm referring to is Kate. For those of you who don't know. I mean, I assume most people would know, but in this day and age with all the gender identity bullshit, I gotta clarify. Kate is the woman I'm referring to. I have nothing bad to say about Jon. But we're gonna jump into this and we're gonna have a great time, so let's get it started. By the late 2000s, audiences can't get enough of Jon and Kate Gosselin. But the family melodrama soon gives way to something darker. Nobody cared what the truth was until living life in a reality bubble claims a young victim. And that, unfortunately, is the harsh reality of what we live in today. No one cares about the truth. So even in the 2000s, we were gearing up for that moment in time where the truth means nothing. People are more concerned with their truth than the actual truth. No one cares. If the truth doesn't fit with a certain person's narrative, that person will completely throw the truth out the window and continue to live in their, ironically, own bubble. And that's what we're experiencing not only in this episode, but in America today. At the start, Jon and Kate Gosselin present audiences with an irresistible dilemma. How would you respond if this was you? And that's a very good question to ask. If you ended up with 8 kids, what would you do to take care of them? And that's an overall theme that I've mentioned many, many times in many different Darkside series. I talk about the R&B song that talks about what would you do? What would you do if your son was at home crying all alone on the bedroom floor because he's hungry and the only way to feed him is to sleep with a man for a little bit of money and his daddy's gone, so we're smoking rock now, in and out of lockdown, I ain't got a job now, so for you this is just a good time, but for me this is what I call life. Now obviously that's not what's happening here, but that is the question. What would you do? Honestly, if I had 8 kids, I don't know what the fuck I would do. All I can say is thank God I don't have 8 kids. Or any kids for that matter. The basic premise of the show was, what do you do if you have 6 newborns? The kids were described as adorably, cheek-pinchingly cute. So yeah, they have these newborns. They got 6 kids right here. And you're wondering, what are you going to do in the 2 situation? And also, of course, the kids were adorable, because most kids are. You'd be hard-pressed to find an ugly kid. I'm not saying they don't exist, I'm saying they're hard to find. But these kids, yeah, they were definitely cute and definitely worth being on television, from a look standpoint anyway. Somehow, the 2 young parents make it work, and the audiences love them for it. The show was meant to be about a happy home with sweet children. So that's the premise of the show, is to show people that this is about a happy home with wonderful children, parents who love each other. This is the good old-fashioned American family. The type of family most people wish they would have. But when cracks appear in the facade of this fairy tale family, the country turns on one half of this once beloved couple, Jon Gosselin. Perception isn't reality, but sometimes it doesn't matter. Jon Gosselin became the second most hated person in America under O.J. Simpson. Yeah, Jon Gosselin instantly gets the heat for the family split up. Which again, as deplorable as this show might be for some people, it worked because it's very relatable. The family's falling apart and naturally, everyone assumes it's the guy's fault. The shit that Jon Gosselin goes through in this series is a textbook reason for why I personally have no desire to get married or have kids. I'll be honest, at this stage of my life, I can honestly say I don't want to get married, I don't have kids, and what Jon Gosselin goes through sums up exactly why I don't want that lifestyle. And if I did have that lifestyle, a woman would have to be over the moon, fucking amazing to change that. And I don't see a woman in 2024 being that fucking amazing. Jon grew up in a town called Wyomissing, which is in the suburbs of Reading, Pennsylvania. In 1997, he met Kate while at a company picnic while working in a hotel. He was 19 years old. Now, for anyone who lives in that area, I apologize if I mispronounced that word, but I was doing the best that I can with that. The young couple soon marries and plans to start a family, but a medical condition means Kate likely can't get pregnant without fertility treatment. They used a procedure called IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. It was less expensive and the HMO covered all medical and prescriptions. Now, for those of you who may not know, intrauterine insemination is a fertility treatment that involves placing sperm directly into the uterus to increase the chances of pregnancy. So I'm assuming that's different from the artificial insemination. They're actually placing it directly into your body. They place it in there. I don't know exactly how it's done, but I know that that's how they do it. And they say it's less expensive than all the other procedures. And like I said, they covered all the medical expenses, so they were able to do that. Now, IUI also increases the chance of multiple birth. And sure enough, 9 months later, the couple welcomes twins, Maddie and Cara. But Jon and Kate want a bigger family, so they try IUI one last time. The twins were 3 years old at the time. So now, what I like about this explanation right here is that it explains so much about the family here. Because what happens here is the IUI is what causes them to have so many kids. And when you hear about this, it kind of makes you feel more sympathetic towards Jon and Kate. It's not like they had 8 kids because they were fucking 8 times without protection. Because usually when someone has a lot of kids, it's usually because they're constantly having sex, they're constantly unprotected, and the woman is constantly getting pregnant. And after you have so many kids, after a certain point, people stop congratulating you and they start looking at you like you're nuts. Like after like the 3rd kid, people are looking at you like, what the fuck? You have like 5 or 6 kids. That's usually how most people get it. They just don't stop fucking and don't learn to pull out, don't learn to wear a condom, don't get on birth control. And that's usually what happens. But in this case, that's not what happened because Kate can't get pregnant on her own. Her and Jon can have all the freaky sex they want. Kate's not getting knocked up. Unless it's a miracle from God, she's not getting knocked up. So they had to go through these treatments. So the fact that they have 8 kids is a side effect of the IUI. They didn't want to have 8 kids. That's just what ended up happening. Because the second time they do it, they end up having sextuplets on the second round. And that's how they got the 8 kids. Because after a complicated pregnancy, premature births, and months of intensive care, the Gosselin sextuplets head home to face a curious public. The sextuplets were born in 2004, and it was 3 boys and 3 girls. Aiden, Colin, Joel, Leia, Hannah, and Alexis. And of course, they spell Aiden Aadeny. And I'm sorry, and by Y, I don't mean there was a Y at the end of that. I mean, why the fuck would you do that? Just put Aiden. Why do you gotta spell kids' names all fucking weird and make life difficult for them because you want to be creative? I fucking hate people who do that. But yeah, so right down the middle, they got 3 boys and 3 girls. Although with the 2 kids here, the twins, Maddie and Cara, they now have 5 girls and 3 boys. So that's what they got to work with here. Along with feeding, dressing, and changing diapers for 6 newborns, Jon and Kate need to find a way to pay the bills for their oversized family. Jon sadly had lost his job due to the pregnancy and insurance carriers, so they had to wing it on Medicaid. So Jon basically gets fired for having to stay at home and take care of these kids, which is fucked up. Jon does not deserve to lose his job over this. Although on the other hand, you can understand the business side of it where they're like, if Jon's not showing up to work, then things are going to be a problem, but that's something him and Kate needed to discuss at that moment. You got to find that fine line. So it's kind of a 50-50 thing. The young parents lean on their church and community for support. They renovated their house and had a team of 75 volunteers come to the house for feedings and diaper changes and other stuff. Even with all this help, the Goslings continue to struggle financially, leaving them open to an offer from a small cable TV channel. So I will say this, shout out to the church and their community for helping them out, because that tells me that the church that Jon and Kate go to, that's a real church. That's a church that actually cares about the people who go to it. That is a shepherd who cares about his flock, as they say. Because there's a lot of times where people go to church and they pretend to be good Christian people, but really they're not. Or they're hypocrites. Or the church is a joke. And there's some churches that are like that. But there are also good churches out there. There are good priests. There are good pastors. There are good reverends. There are people there who actually believe in God, believe in the Lord, and believe in his teachings, and believing in being good to your fellow man and woman. And that church proved it. So shout out to them. Now, as far as the cable channel goes, they film a 1-hour documentary for Discovery Health called Surviving Sextuplets and Twins. Yeah, doesn't really roll off the tongue. It turned out to be the highest rated documentary they ever had on Discovery Health. 14 months go by, and they're approached again to do a follow-up, and the second one did better than the first. So this is their taste of being on TV, was this documentary. And obviously, they got paid well for the documentary, and obviously, they got some residuals. I'm sure that there was some type of compensation for being on this documentary, and also providing exposure to their issue in the hopes that maybe they can get more help, because Jon obviously needs work, and this family is obviously struggling to take care of these kids. And again, the reason they have these kids is because it's a result, it's a side effect of the IUI treatment. Again, they did not want to have 8 kids, and they weren't being irresponsible. So that's why I think people can sympathize with this family. This is a procedure gone awry. And I don't mean that as a knock on the children. I'm just saying what happened. The Goslings there before the grace of God and family situation resonates with viewers, and Discovery Health soon makes them a new kind of offer, a reality TV show. So now they've had the documentary, they've had the follow-up, the ratings have gone through the roof with both of them. So it's like, we want a reality show because people are tuning into Discovery Health to see Jon and Kate. And again, they follow the money. They follow what people want to see. And people wanted to see this family. Because A, you're fascinated with the fact that your parents have 8 kids, what the fuck, but also the families and how they interact and the kids and what it's like to grow up with that. How does someone handle having 8 kids? Because most people stop at 2. I know my parents did. My mom made it very clear to my dad that you get 2 kids. That's it. So if you want a boy, I'm going to give you 2 chances to get it. If my brother and I both ended up being girls, my dad was shot. That was it. They were not going to try for a boy. Thankfully, my dad got 2 boys. He got me, and then my brother 2 years later. Reality TV got taken to a higher level on May 31st, 2000, during the first American rendition of Survivor. By the mid-2000s, reality TV dominates U.S. airwaves. Reality TV in the beginning was more like a chemistry experiment. The equivalent of what would happen if you took a tiny table, put a big jug of nitroglycerin on it, and pushed the nitroglycerin to the edge of the table, and then put 10 kittens in the room, and then watch what happens. So reality TV was, again, becoming exciting and coming up in the ranks. Like, for example, we all know when Zach and I did Darkside of the 90s, we talked about The Real World. That was the first glimpse of reality TV. And part of the reason reality TV was able to form and take over was because of the multiple writer's strikes that have taken place over the years. There's a writer's strike in the 90s. There's a writer's strike in the 2000s. We had one not too long ago, about a year or 2 ago. There was a writer's strike that had taken place. And the actors even joined in on it. So there were opportunities there for reality TV to prosper. With the Goslings, the nitroglycerin is their 8 kids, and Discovery Health is planning to be there with cameras rolling when the explosions happen. Jon and Kate Plus 8 premieres in 2007 and shows the very real Gosselin family reacting to situations dreamed up by the show's producers. The show, however, was more of a docudrama because the people were real, but the events were staged. They brought the toys, they planned the adventure, and mapped everything out. And to an extent, I get it. Most events in reality TV are going to be staged. Usually on reality TV, when someone's flying to an event or someone's staying in a nice hotel or they're going on a crazy vacation, the producers are paying for that experience. And they'll stage certain events. But basically, they lay out what's going to happen, but then they have to go out there and do it. So they're not necessarily telling them, you say this, you do that, you do that. They just stage the events, but what they say and do is not scripted. But you do have to set up certain things because you are still filming a show. Even though it's reality TV, even though you're catching real moments in real time, it still has to flow like a TV show or flow like a movie. So I understand certain events being staged. But as long as the people are being real and genuine with their words, the audience will gravitate to them. But if they start acting phony and talking in sound bites, people are going to read that and get turned off. The Circus of 8 Kids is entertaining, but it's the ringmasters who make it great TV. Jon and Kate were the most popular because they had a good cop, bad cop style of parenting. Kate was very much the alpha female, and Jon was the beaten down husband. And this is an aspect of family life that I fucking hate. I hate it on TV, and I hate seeing it in real life. There is nothing sadder than a husband who is basically a fucking doormat. And unfortunately, that's how you get over on TV. The woman has to be strong and independent and fierce and slay it queen and all that shit. And the guy has to be a fucking simp who's holding her purse and bowing his head and, yes, dear, I understand, dear. You're so smart and I'm so dumb. I don't know what I'd do without you. That feckless, dickless, spineless bullshit that I absolutely fucking despise. I can't stand that. To me, that's not a man. You might as well take your balls off, put them in her purse, and just stay off camera. And I hate that. The fact that you have to dumb the guy down to build the woman up in order to generate ratings. It's goddamn ridiculous. People took sides. Some people loved that Kate was assertive, while others felt Jon shouldn't have to put up with her shit. And I couldn't agree more. Basically everything I just said. Jon should not have to put up with her shit. Now look, I believe as a husband, you should love your wife. You should respect your wife. You should cherish your wife, because you made those vows before God. But that does not mean you have to put up with all the bullshit that your wife throws at you. You as a husband should be able to say, cut the shit. You should. You shouldn't have to put up with anybody's shit. Nobody should have to put up with a toxic human being. And there's a lot of signs early on that Kate is toxic. It gets worse later. But I believe that if you're a man, you should be the fucking man of your house. You should get the same respect from your wife that you show to her. She should show back to you. Soon, Discovery decides to move the show to its more successful family-friendly channel, TLC. Through the early 2000s, a slate of wholesome reality shows turned TLC into a top 10 cable network, reaching almost 80 million homes. TLC really did try to brand itself as a kinder, gentler reality TV channel. But by 2008, kinder and gentler gives way to uncommon and unexpected. Trading Spaces, A Baby Story, Little People Big World, 19 Kids and Counting. This is just an example of some of the reality shows that start coming in around this time and really start building up the TLC network. But of course, Jon and Kate Plus 8 is at the forefront. They're the top moneymaker. And these are all the underlings that are banking off of their success. In January 2008, new episodes of Jon and Kate Plus 8 begin airing on TLC, and it becomes the network's highest rated show. The Goslings now have more than enough money to take care of 8 small children. They were making $22,500 a show. So that's how much money they're making. $22,500 a show. So, by doing the math correctly, this is the 3rd season that they're in. And there was 31 episodes in that season. That means that for one season, they made $697,500. Oh yeah, they're definitely taking care of these kids. And again, as much as people want to look down on reality TV stars or give them shit for not having quote unquote real jobs, again, you can sympathize with this family because they have 8 children. And Jon did have a regular job, but he got fired because he was taking care of his kids. So it's not like Jon didn't want to work. He couldn't because he couldn't leave Kate alone with these kids and nobody wanted to hire him. So again, what would you do? Go on a reality show, make a fuck ton of money, and be able to take care of your kids. And then there's the perks. Travel is paid for. They got per diem. They got paid for Good Morning America. They got paid to be on Good Morning America. I don't even think Good Morning America charged guests. I know at the very least they take care of accommodations while you're there, but holy shit, they're making money, hand over fist. But along with more money, the move to TLC brings much more attention. It goes from 20 million to 90 million households overnight. In their hometown, people for the most part left them alone. But when they would travel to New York or LA or Legoland, that's when the fans would come out because they want to know more about them than just what they saw on TV. Because in their hometown, they already knew Jon and Kate. They knew Jon and Kate before they got famous. They remember when they all had to pitch in and help them raise their kids before they started making thousands and thousands of dollars. So they kind of leave them alone. Some people do it to live their own lives. Some people might do it out of jealousy or envy. I'm sure they have friends in the neighborhood they might hang out with from time to time. But again, when they're traveling outside of where they live, where they don't have friends or whatever, naturally people are going to want to approach you. Because that's why most celebrities, and technically Jon and Kate are celebrities, but most celebrities tend to move to small towns because they get to know the people there and they kind of just treat them like a regular person, so they're not being constantly bombarded by people. Because they know when they go out to other places, they're going to get hounded for autographs and pictures. The tabloid press is happy to oblige, but the reports of Jon and Kate's life off camera provide a very different show than what's airing on family-friendly TLC. Because again, the TV show is family-friendly. Just because someone's family-friendly on camera doesn't mean they are off camera. You gotta remember, these are grown adults. They might do some grown adult shit from time to time. They don't do it on camera, but off camera, they should be free to be themselves. Because I believe that. You gotta have a moment off camera to be you, to not be on, to not be a gimmick. And that's why I feel sorry for people that work in family-friendly entertainment or work in children's television, because they're not allowed to be normal. Because you forget, because you see them in a childlike environment all the time on TV, that again, they're grown adults. They might do grown adult shit. They might smoke. They might drink. They might have sex. They might masturbate in a porno theater. They do these things, but they don't do them on camera, and they don't teach it to kids. And as long as you're not doing those things and you're doing them on your own private time, it shouldn't be a big deal. What you do on your own time is your business, as long as you're not doing anything to actively hurt the brand. After the move to TLC in 2008, Jon, Kate, and their 8 kids become one of America's most talked about families. Seasons 3 and 4 is when things got bigger and they really became famous celebrities. Jon realized this is bigger than just filming a reality show at home, and he's not alone. Kate also sees opportunity in their growing fame, and she begins to take advantage. She's writing books, she's doing speaking engagements, she's doing signings, and she's building a persona. So Jon is seeing this and going, whoa, this is too intense. Kate's seeing this as an opportunity to get famous and be a celebrity. So Kate is starting to become power hungry. She's starting to become obsessed with fame. She's now starting to want to get a taste of the A-list lifestyle, which happens a lot. Fame is addictive. You want it. You crave it. But like they said in the Real World episode, fame without money is shit. Kate's got the money and the fame, so it's really going to her head. Between book tours, the family upgrades to a camera-friendly 23-acre estate. They had a great thing going business-wise, but Jon and Kate's commercial success masked the negative impact the show was having on some of the plus 8. So, again, while all the success is happening, it's starting to affect the household. Because the kids don't have any clear memories of life before there were cameras. They were used to them and thought it was routine. In February of 07 or 08, they filmed every day except for 2. Jon was getting burned out, and during the wedding vow renewal in Hawaii, he got into a fight with his EP. So the kids have literally grown up with cameras in their faces. To them, it's just like, there you are. And Jon, yeah, he's getting burned out because Jon, again, he doesn't want to be famous. Kate does. Jon, all he wanted to do was make money and take care of the kids. Jon actually cares about the family, which is weird because you don't normally see that from the dad. But in this case, you are. You're seeing Jon thinking about the family and Kate thinking about the adoring fans. In August 2008, TLC sends the Goslings on an elaborate Hawaiian getaway to renew their vows on their 10th wedding anniversary. As the show ends its 4th season in March 2009, the audience is left believing in Jon and Kate's marriage is as rock solid as ever. So what happens next stuns the show's millions of fans. A couple weeks later, Jon is photographed with a local school teacher leaving a nightclub late one night. The photographer was tipped off by somebody at the establishment. He parked his car in front of Jon's car and got a deer in the headlights photo. Because of course, we got to see this. Because people see the picture and suspect Jon of cheating on Kate. But Jon's alleged cheating isn't what it appears to be. Years later, it will be revealed that at the time of the photograph, Jon and Kate had already been separated for months. So right now, people see this automatically assume that Jon is cheating on Kate. That's why he becomes the second most hated person in America. Because right now, everyone's convinced that Jon is a cheater, that Jon is breaking up the family home, that Jon is the bad guy. Because naturally, that's what people want to think. Especially women. They want to naturally believe that every man is a cheater. Every man is a liar. It's just a matter of time before they cheat and lie on you. And again, no one cares about the facts. People just want to see and assume. And that's why you can't do that. See, that's why I ruffle a lot of feathers. Because I don't take things at first glance. I do investigations. I want to dig deeper into the story. I want to get the context behind everything. I just don't look at something on the surface level and go, that's wrong. And the fact that I don't do that pisses off a lot of libtards and woke people. Which I enjoy doing anyway because they're out of their fucking minds. But again, we find out they were already separated. So Jon's not cheating. They're separated. When you are legally separated, you are free to date other people. You can't get married, but you can date. And then during that separation, you make the choice. Do you want to get back together with your wife and try to make this work? Or do one of you want to file for divorce and put an end to this? Mid-season 4, Jon had enough. He had moved out of the house and was legally separated from Kate, as I mentioned before. There was a lot of drama behind the scenes that the public knew nothing about because they kept it private because Jon and Kate breaking up is not in the script. So now, this is where the reality show is no longer a reality show. This is now scripted TV because they don't want anybody to know that Jon and Kate are split up. They want to create the illusion they're still married, they're still together, and they're still happy. Because they're worried if people find out that they're no longer a happily married couple, people will stop watching and the whole network will go under. TLC was freaking out because this was their most popular show and basically wanted them to continue on as if everything was okay. But the tabloids have different priorities. They were determined to make Jon out to be a cheating scumbag, and they succeeded. They followed him everywhere, and some reporters went to any length to feed the gossip machine. And that's why these reporters are the biggest scumbags on the planet. We'll get to more of that later. They would pay people who hung out with them for the story about what they did. They didn't care about the truth. Any story was worth reporting. And that is the downfall of American journalism. This is why no one respects mainstream media anymore. Because mainstream media became these gossip machine feeding scumbags. This is why you hear people talk about fake news. It's fake news. That's fake news. Because most of it is. When you stop caring about the truth and you value ratings over truth, you are no longer news. You are no longer the media. You no longer get to call yourself a fucking journalist. You're a bottom-feeding trash bag hoe for the advertising industry. Gossip outlets document the unraveling of the Gosling marriage in real time, and the public shares their obsession. They fell in love with this family and couldn't believe that the wholesome family image they had completely fell apart. No shit. Reality TV will make anyone fall apart. Just ask the Hogans. Soon TLC starts using all this speculation about the Goslings' marriage to encourage viewers to watch the show's upcoming 5th season. But more real-life drama is on the way, triggering a brutal fight in the court of public opinion, which is the most judgmental court to fight in. Because once you're guilty in public opinion, it don't even matter if you're not guilty in a court of law. You will be guilty forever and ever 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 and ever, especially today. Because in today's world, people don't change. May 2009, the season 5 premiere of Jon and Kate Plus 8 celebrates the sextuplet's birthday. They all turned 5 years old and played in a huge bounce house and had a piñata. But TLC has hyped trouble in the Goslings' marriage to attract viewers, and Jon and Kate spend most of the episode talking about themselves. So we don't see a lot of the kids in this episode. They're talking about themselves. The reality finally came into the reality show. They weren't a loving couple. They were a couple on the skids with 8 kids. Not a bad title if I do say so myself. The season 5 premiere draws almost 10 million viewers and doubles the ratings of the 4th season finale. Because again, people love drama and carnage. And that's the truth. You want to create a wholesome family image? Don't nobody want to see that, even if it's true. People love the drama. People love the fights. People love to watch other people's lives go into the toilet. That's why reality TV is so successful. They like seeing other people be miserable because it makes them feel better about their own miserable lives. Again, we used to aspire to greatness. Nowadays, we belittle it because it makes us feel inferior. And when episode 6 airs in late June, the show finally reveals what's been true since the middle of season 4. Jon and Kate were separated. So now, everyone knows they were separated. So all the shit that Jon was getting for being a cheater turns out to be a lie. But, does anybody put in a retraction? Does anyone apologize? No, they don't. Because being a scumbag journalist means never having to say you're sorry. The same day the separation episode airs, Kate files for divorce. But the couple will also make it clear that Jon and Kate Plus 8, the show, will carry on. So Kate files for divorce. Kate's the one that wants the divorce. Jon didn't ask for a divorce. Kate basically says, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to be married to Jon anymore. Jon said they would film things separately, and Kate said the show must go on even though nobody felt that it should. Even Kate's own family believed the show should end for the good of the Gosling children. So right now they're filming things separately because they're not together anymore. And Kate, because she's addicted to the fame, because she loves the money, because she loves the attention, she wants to keep this show going. Even though everyone can clearly see this is not good for the family. This is not good for the children. The children are suffering because of this, but Kate doesn't care because she just wants money and fame. And what really makes me angry is, again, I'm looking right at the left because nobody on the right would say this shit. If they would, please send me a link. But I know for a fact on the left, everyone is praising Kate for wanting to go after the money and the fame. Because people are so obsessed with girl power and feminism and women doing it all that they will allow women to choose success over family. But if a man does it, he's a deadbeat and a piece of shit. That's the double standard and the hypocrisy that exists in our world. Because what Kate's doing right now is toxic. Because if something is clearly affecting your kids in a negative way, you should not do it. The moment you start to value fame over your children, there's a problem. There's a big problem. Since the move to TLC, the 8 children have filmed over 80 episodes of the show in just 2 years, leading to concerns about working conditions. The state opens an investigation into the show for possible child labor violations, though the case is ultimately dismissed. So I'm assuming this is dismissed because TLC threw a lot of lawyers and money at the situation. But again, the working conditions, the child labor violations, because kids can only work a certain amount of time and everything else. But here's where I would argue with that, is the fact that technically the kids aren't working. They're at home. See, what they're doing with Jon and Kate is no different than if Jon or Kate had a camera pointed at their kids and were making home movies. Because the kids are usually home, or they're with their parents. The kids aren't really working. So I fail to see how this is a child labor situation. I don't know, that's just me. But for the newly single Jon, what's going on with his kids does not appear to be a priority. After the divorce is announced, Jon Gosling moves to New York City to enjoy all the advantages his fame and money can buy. he spent money like crazy and partied like he was 19 again. So basically, he got away to go just be alone, which obviously, again, Jon's being viewed as the shitty parent, even though what Kate's doing is way more toxic. But I will say this. When you find out later what happens to Jon as a result of everything, you can understand why he moved. But right now, like I said, it looks like he doesn't care. But I will say this. I'm a little shocked that he moved to New York City, but I can understand after your divorce is finalized, you get the fuck away for a bit and have some time to yourself. Like, I can understand that if you have a little bit of fun and then eventually get back to being a parent. But I can understand needing to get away for a little while because all parents need a break from their kids at some point. Because when your kid becomes your entire life, that's not healthy for you or the kid. At some point, there needs to be some distance. You know what I'm saying? That's why usually you send your kids to school. You have distance. You go to work. You have distance. Then you come home and you spend time with your kid and everything else. But when you're in their face 24/7, you're going to drive them crazy. And they're going to drive you crazy. All the bad stuff people read about him happened over the span of 6 months. People said he had a midlife crisis and he was only 32. His road to recovery lasted from 2010 to the present day. So all the stuff that he's doing right now, it happened over 6 months. The divorce being finalized, going out, that all happened over the span of 6 months. It's not like he was just away from his kids forever. And again, he's 32 years old and they're acting like he's having a midlife crisis. He's not even midway through his life. It just seems that way because he's been a married man since he was 19, since he was in his 20s. So it seems that way because he's living the life of a married man at a very young age. Jon's lost 6 months also threatens TLC's family-friendly image and the channel's biggest driver of revenue. Their average was $86 million a quarter in profit from the show. So the show makes them $86 million each quarter. And Jon partying is hurting the family-friendly image. But right now, Jon don't give a fuck. And again, I can't say that I blame him. Despite Jon living his wild single life, TLC tries to keep the couple together at least on TV. They wanted them to finish out the season and stay married, and Jon didn't want to. Kate also had a financial incentive to keep Jon in the relationship, so she makes it an only on reality TV proposition. So she's basically saying, let's stay married only on TV, and when we're not on TV, you can do whatever you want. She sets up a meeting with Dr. Phil to talk to both Jon and Kate together and try to encourage Jon to sign some paperwork saying, I will stay married to Kate, with the agreement that he can have outside relationships. Jon declines the deal. So that's the deal, is stay married to Kate, even though Kate was the one who filed for divorce. Remember that. Kate filed for divorce. If you're the wife and you file for divorce from your husband, you lose all rights and privileges of telling your husband what to do. You no longer get to tell your husband what to do anymore. Your husband is no longer obligated to listen to a single fucking word you say the second you hand him divorce papers. So now she wants to go crawling back because, again, she wants the money and the fame. She doesn't love Jon. And that's why I don't blame him. And they're literally saying, look, you can fuck whoever you want. You can date whoever you want. I don't care. Just stay married to me on TV. And when the cameras turn off, go fuck a waitress. I don't care. But Jon's like, no, I don't want that. You want a divorce. I want a divorce. I want to be rid of you. Jon then claims TLC then tried to tempt him with a big payday. They offered him $2.1 million to stay filming. When word of the offer hits the tabloids, it's reported that it's only $1 million, but whatever the amount, Jon turns it down. He didn't want to lie to the public, friends, or family. He would rather see them raise the children together divorced. TLC decides to take a different approach and drop Jon from the show. So what Jon wants to do is, hey, let's show the world that we can be divorced but still raise our children. We don't have to be married. We don't have to be this happily married couple. Let's show, hey, relationships don't always work out, but you can still co-parent. And especially in this day and age, that is something that needs to be shown. Because let's be honest here. In America today, there are more co-parents than there are actual married couples. So to me, that would make the show way more relatable. And it would make sense. But TLC decides we're just going to kick Jon out completely. And here's where all the bullshit starts. They renamed the show Kate Plus 8. And Jon responds the only way he knows how on television. On October 1st, 2009, Jon and his attorney appear on Larry King Live to demand that his kids also be removed from the show. So now he's coming for his kids because he knows this is going to hurt the kids. Even Kate's own parents were against that. So Jon's like, fine, if I'm leaving the show, I'm taking my children with me because this is toxic. In a statement to Larry King, Kate says Jon is rewriting history. She says, I do this show for my family because I believe it provides opportunities we wouldn't otherwise have. Jon used to share that belief until as recently as the day the network announced the name change of the show and indicated that Jon would have a lesser role in the show. It appears that Jon's priority is Jon and his interests. To which I reply, fuck this nasty hoe. Fuck this nasty ass hoe. Kate is basically gaslighting the public right now. Because every single thing she is saying about Jon is what she's doing. This is for Kate and her interests. And anyone who has a brain can see that. Kate's not doing this show for her family. Now, she might have been doing it for her family in the beginning. That was the main plan. But Kate is now at a point where she is power hungry. She will do whatever it takes to keep this show on the air. She was willing to get rid of her husband. And she's willing to make another sacrifice. And I can't wait till we get to that. Whatever Jon's motive, TLC has no choice but to stand down their cameras. Jon put a sign on his house saying, notice, not film crew or production staff from TLC is permitted on this property under penalty of trespass. Jonathan Gosselin. So he makes it very clear, no one from TLC is allowed on my property, and you will be arrested. TLC called it breach of contract and sued Jon for $5 million. They settled out of court, but Jon has to agree to significant limitations. He couldn't talk to the press for 10 years, and he couldn't work on TV for 5 years. So, for 10 years, they gave the gag order on Jon, which is the worst thing you can have happen to you. Because the second you're not allowed to talk to the press, the second they make you sign an NDA, that's when they're allowed to control the narrative. So now, TLC can go on the warpath and say whatever they want about Jon, and Jon is not able to defend himself. And that's what they want to do. They want to put you in a position where you can't defend yourself against allegations. Especially if you're a white male. And yes, I'm not afraid to say that. They will put whatever gag order they can to control the narrative. Because that's what television does. That's what corporations do. Anybody that generates revenue, they like to silence people. Especially people who know the truth about what's going on. And they want to keep him off TV for 5 years because they're hoping in 5 years his fame will die down, his brand value will die down. He's been out of the public for so long, nobody will want to work with him. That's why they put non-compete clauses, because they know once you leave somewhere, you're white fucking hot. And they want to cool you down. So when you come back on, you're not as much of a threat. And that's what they're trying to do. They're eliminating a threat. Because Jon is a threat to the show. Because he's a real motherfucker. And in November 2009, while the couple's divorce is still being finalized, Jon and Kate Plus 8 airs its final episode. But the Gosselin family drama is about to claim its first young victim. In 2010, TLC gambles that Kate's celebrity will be enough to carry their new show, Kate Plus 8. TLC arms Kate with a new look and more far-flung family outings. Which means Jon is spending less and less time with his children. Because he wasn't on the show, they were unable to co-parent. So again, Jon not only gets screwed out of the show, but also screwed out of seeing his kids. So Jon's not able to see his own children. This is another thing that deters men from wanting to get married or wanting to have kids. The fact that it is so fucking easy to take a child away from a father. It is so simple. I'm telling you, this is a game set up for women to win. It's so rigged against guys, it's pathetic. It is so rigged in the favor of women, it's pathetic. Like if you're a woman and you want to lose custody of your kids, you have to kill them, basically. A woman can be addicted to crystal meth and living under a bridge, and a judge will still say, a child should be with its mother. If you're a woman and you lose a child custody case or a divorce court, you're a shitty wife and you're a shitty mom. You have to be really shitty to lose in something that is so much in your favor, it's insane. After the divorce, Kate is awarded full legal custody of the kids. No shit. She would say, there's no two adult perspectives. It's me. Of course. Jon says she just did whatever she wanted to do without my consent. Of course. Whatever she wanted to do includes finding ways to keep herself and her kids on television. Again, Kate is selfish as fuck, and Jon is getting screwed by the system. But when TLC cancels Kate Plus 8 in 2011, Kate is determined to stay in the spotlight. She appeared on season 10 of Dancing with the Stars, The View, Celebrity Apprentice, and was a serial reality TV star. So she is now bouncing from one reality TV show to the next, from one right after the other, because again, she's obsessed with being on TV. She's obsessed with the fame, she's obsessed with the money, she's obsessed with the power, and she's not thinking about her children, she's thinking about herself. Until 2015, when TLC brings back Kate Plus 8 for a new season of episodes featuring the much older twins and sextuplets. But on the new series, Colin will become a casualty of the family's return to television. Here we go. Back on Jon and Kate Plus 8, Colin was always a bit more of a handful than his siblings. On Kate Plus 8, Colin begins rebelling against living his life on camera. He would be quiet during interviews and just sit there and say nothing. Sometimes he wouldn't even look at the camera. So Colin is sick of all this. Colin is sick and tired and doesn't want to be part of this show anymore. He doesn't want to be on camera. He's getting fed up with it. So he's just like, fuck it, I'm not going to do anything. Now, you would think, as a mother, Kate would be concerned about this. Kate would think to herself, maybe this is reflecting bad on the children. Maybe I should stop. Or, if Colin doesn't want to be part of this, maybe I should send him to go live with his father so he doesn't have to be on camera. Those all sound like logical things a woman can do. Sounds like maybe Kate would do. Wrong. Kate responds by treating Colin differently from his siblings. He wouldn't be allowed to go out and play with his siblings and would eat dinner at different times. Kate basically took her frustrations out on Colin since he was so rebellious. That's a solution. So while everyone else is filming, Colin would stay in the house. Or while the family's filming eating dinner, Colin goes somewhere else. And then afterwards, Colin would eat dinner once the camera crew left. Because again, Kate doesn't care about her family. She's a selfish bitch. And it shows. When the show returns in 2016, Colin is no longer living with the rest of the family. Kate had him diagnosed with some behavioral disorder and had him separated and put in a special school. Kate sends 12-year-old Colin to Fairmont Behavioral Health Institute, which is a psychiatric hospital in Philadelphia. So, for those of you out there who think I'm tripping, if you think so far in this show, I'm just giving Kate a hard time, I'm just some angry, bitter person, I'm some hate monger, what do you think now? Still think I'm an asshole for telling Kate off? She put her son in a psychiatric hospital for the simple reason that he didn't want to be on camera. She held on to, again, her money and her fame by sending her kid to a psychiatric hospital. That's how much she loves fame, and that's how much she hates her husband. That she doesn't even have the common courtesy to send him to go live with his father, who wants custody, who tried to fight for his kids, and actually loves his kids. Now do you see why I say she's the most despicable woman in the history of reality TV? Kate says she did it because she was not able, with her own resources, to meet his needs. Bullshit. But Colin believes he was actually sent away for more disturbing reasons. He says she was abusing him, and he told some teachers, and when she found out, she put him somewhere where he wouldn't be able to get the secrets out. Because again, that's what people love to do. Sweep shit under the carpet so they continue behaving the way they do instead of addressing problems head on. Oh, this will reflect bad on my image. I need to shut it down. I need people to think I'm a great person, even though I'm an absolute cunt. This is sick. Kate firmly denies Colin's abuse allegations. Of course she does. Meanwhile, Colin must settle into his new home alone. He was all alone with no support system, and it took a toll on him mentally. Yeah, you want to fuck with somebody's mental health? Put them in a psychiatric hospital when they're not mentally ill. Because I guarantee you this, they'll be mentally ill when they come out of there, because they're going to be around people who actually are fucking crazy, who are out of their fucking minds, who do need fucking therapy. Colin didn't need therapy. He needed to be away from the fucking cameras. He needed to be with family that loves him, because clearly his mother doesn't. Kate Plus 8 continues on the air while Colin's siblings and father remain in the dark about his whereabouts. Jon would go to his kids' school and have lunch with them so he could see them all collectively with no cameras. One day he looked around and said, "Where's Colin?" The kids were too scared to say anything. So he went to the guidance counselor, Miss Foster. She said he's not enrolled here anymore and she's not allowed to say anything further. Yeah. So she was obviously given a gag order. Colin's no longer enrolled in the school, and the school felt no need whatsoever to tell the father. Again, you want to know why so many men don't want to get married anymore? You want to know why so many men don't want to be fathers? You want to know why this whole men going their own way is starting to trend worldwide? Why you see so many videos about that on YouTube where men basically just say, fuck it, it's not worth it? This is the type of shit. Imagine being a father and your kid is sent somewhere and no one's telling you where he is or she is. And the fact that there's a legal precedent out there that allows that to happen. I'll tell you this, Jon is a lot calmer in this situation as we move on. He's about to be a lot calmer in this situation than I would be. Because I'll tell you right now, if I'm a father and my wife, my baby mama, did that to my kid, I would kill that bitch. There would be blood. If I was Jon, Kate would be dead. Everybody at TLC would be dead. I would go on a fucking rampage warpath if someone did that to my child. You not only pulled my son out of school, I can't find out where he is? What kind of bullshit is that? And the fact that this is allowed. Without legal custody, Jon struggles to discover what happened to his son. He went to court to find out where Colin was and kept getting a continuance. So now the court system can't even help him. Again, it's not built in our favor as men. That's what the court system is to a man. It's a big fuck you. That's all it is. Whether it's divorce court, child custody battles, it's a nightmare. I have seen so many men in these situations that come out broken, that they almost wish they never had kids in the first place. So when people ask me why I don't want to get married, why I don't want to have kids, I show them this episode. I tell them, watch this episode on Vice, and then come back and tell me that getting married and having a kid is a good idea in 2024. I dare any man to watch that episode and then come back and tell me you still want to get married, you still want to have kids. I promise you, that's the ultimate form of birth control right there. Then in 2017, Jon received a heartbreaking handwritten letter from Colin. It was written in crayon, and he was asking his dad to get him out of Fairmont. Jon shares the shocking news of Colin's whereabouts with his family members. The kids at first didn't want to go home, but then Jon said they had to or he would be in contempt of court. So Jon, again, wants to take his kids with him, but he can get arrested for pulling his kids out of a toxic environment. The father can go to jail. Again, this is how sick and twisted our country is with these laws. That you are a father and a court system is preventing you from doing what a father should do for his kids, and that's protect them from someone toxic, even if that toxic person is their own mother. And the fact that a court system would get in the way of that is fucking disgusting. Jon goes to court and files an emergency petition to modify custody, and he gets full custody of Hannah. So Hannah, who wanted to get the fuck out of there, is able to get the fuck out of there because she wants nothing to do with the family anymore. Meanwhile, Colin has been relocated to a different institution located in Pittsburgh, even farther away from his family. Jon goes to Pittsburgh, where Colin hasn't seen a parent in a year and a half because Kate never went to visit him. Again, Jon got one win because he got Hannah. But once Colin found out where he was, they moved the kids somewhere else. And not only that, not only did Kate do all this to her own son, but didn't even have enough of a heart to go and visit him. You couldn't be bothered to at least check on him. If you were doing this for his own good, if you were doing this to help him with a behavioral problem, if that's really the real reason you did this, you couldn't be bothered to go visit. Let me tell you something. If I had a child, I hope to God I would never have to put him or her in a psychiatric hospital. But I'll tell you this much, if I did, if I had to, if something was legitimately wrong with my child to the point where I had to put them in a hospital and get them help, rest assured, I'm going to visit. I may not visit every day, but at minimum, once a week. At least once a week, I'm going to visit. And that's the minimum. The minimum. She never went to visit at all over the span of a year and a half. That is sickening. This is probably one of the sickest Darkside episodes I've ever seen. Across the whole board. Now, still not as bad as Grizzly Smith, but it's pretty fucking close. When Jon finally sees his son again, he's shocked by Colin's appearance. He looks different and is on a lot of medication. So he goes to his doctor and asks, what's his diagnosis? He says, we don't know yet. We're going to figure it out. Jon says, you don't have to figure anything out. I'm going to fight to get him out of here. He went to court, psych evals, testimony, and spent $1 million to get his son out. He wins sole custody, and it cost him every penny he had to do it. That's a fucking parent. Jon spent every dime he had. Everything he made from the show, he spent to get his son out of that institution. And the fact that he even had to fight for that is fucking horrific. There shouldn't have even been an argument. I'm the father. I say get him out. That should be the end of the fucking conversation. There should be no debate after that. I'm the father. Get him out. Again, this is why I don't want to have kids. Because as a father, I should have to jump through all those hoops to see my own kid. I should not have to fight in court to see my son or get my son out of an institution that he had no fucking business being in. So ladies, think about all this before you ask a guy out on a date. Because if there's anything about what Kate has done that you support, you don't deserve to have a man in your life, but most importantly, you don't deserve to breed. Anyone who supports Kate should be castrated because you are not allowed to reproduce. This is fucking sickening. But Jon stepped up. Jon didn't care about the money. He cared about his kids. And he got custody of Colin, and he got custody of Hannah. The rest of the kids are with Kate, but Jon was able to at least save 2 of them. But the fallout from Colin's custody battle will create a permanent rift between the Gosselin children as they decide never to speak to Colin again. Hannah being the exception, of course. So that's it. All the rest of the kids that live with Kate want nothing to do with Colin. They are now officially estranged. It's literally Jon, Hannah, and Colin against Kate and the 6 other kids. In 2019, TLC produces a Kate Plus 8 special celebrating the twins starting college. But Colin's release from a psychiatric facility sparks new public scrutiny and custody fights. By the end of the year, TLC quietly drops Kate and her other 7 kids from the network. Meanwhile, life for Jon plus 2 is full of adjustments. So now, everything has come out. Now that Colin is out and Kate has finally been exposed for the toxic cunt that she truly is, and everyone's had to realize all the shit they put Jon through, TLC's now, we're done. We can't get anything out of this show. Because instead of telling everybody the truth, you tried to cover up the lies, all the lies came out, and now your image is tarnished. When they probably could have saved all this drama if they had just been honest. But that's the problem. People are so obsessed with creating an image of themselves that they have to live it 24/7. And once you get exposed as not really being that person, it ruins your whole career. Case in point, Will Smith. He created an image. That image got tarnished when they realized he wasn't a leading man and that he was a simp to Jada. He smacked Chris Rock for making a harmless joke about Jada when everybody else in the world was calling him a bitch for the fact that Jada cheated on him and verbally ripped him apart on the show, and he continues to stay married to her. Will Smith lost a lot of credibility. That's why he had to make Bad Boys 4. He couldn't get a blockbuster hit any other way. Once your public persona goes to shit, nobody wants to see you anymore. That's why to truly be successful, you got to be real and you got to be honest. Like, that's what I do. There's no fake persona with me. I'm as real as the day is long. Some of you like it, some of you don't. You decide. Colin and Jon need to get to know each other, and resentments also linger over how Colin was treated. It's a really dark part of their past, but Colin's other siblings seem to think differently. So, obviously, Colin's other siblings don't care about him, but again, Colin's gone through a lot, and Jon has to regain that trust, but Colin's at least willing to work with Jon and heal because he knows that Jon didn't put him through all that hell. Colin has not spoken to his other siblings since 2016. Still, the majority of the Gosselin kids remain firmly on Team Kate. Jon is estranged from them, and post-reality show fame, he tries his best to get on with his life. He went back to work and got a job in IT. So he's an IT technician. He sometimes goes to people's houses and fixes their internet. And when they find out that he was Jon from Jon and Kate Plus 8, some people are excited to hear that. Like, oh my God, can you tell us some stories and blah, blah, blah. So he's got his life back on track. He's back to work. Because again, he never cared about the fame. He just wanted to take care of his children. And Jon accepts the fact that the other kids want nothing to do with them. And the way I see it, when you're in a situation like that, you just got to get on with your life. You can't force kids to want to have a relationship with you. You can't. You can fight for your kids all you want. But if they don't want anything to do with you, at the end of the day, it's a wasted fight. All you can really say at that point is, look, I love you. And if you ever change your mind, I'm here whenever you want to talk. That's what I would do. Whenever you're ready to talk. Here's my number. Call me. And that's it. That's all you can do. Right now, Jon has to focus on the fact that he's got Colin and Hannah. He's got to focus on taking care of them. If the other 6 decide one day to have a relationship with Jon, so be it. If they don't, fuck them. With her own TV fame winding down, Kate sells the big house in Pennsylvania in 2021. She moves to North Carolina with her remaining kids, renews her nursing license, and drops out of the public eye. And good riddance to bad rubbish. Ding dong, the bitch is dead. Mean old bitch, the wicked bitch. Ding dong, the wicked bitch is dead. As Mr. Robinson would say, I'm so glad the bitch is gone. Although I'll tell you this much, the fact that she's in North Carolina, if I ever end up in a hospital in North Carolina, I really hope that Kate is not my nurse. Because I'm going to be like, get me a new nurse, I don't want this bitch. Who's to blame for the family's breakup is up for debate. But for Colin, the impact of reality TV can't be ignored. The Goslings themselves have mixed feelings. Who's to blame for the family's breakup? I don't think it's debatable. It's Kate. 100% it's Kate. She let the fame go to her head and destroyed her family in the process. Jon still lives in Pennsylvania where he works as an IT specialist and a DJ. She does DJing as well. Kate was invited to tell her side of the story for this program. She did not respond to the producer's requests. So, again, Kate had the opportunity to come on here and tell her side of the story. And she said no. So anybody out there that might be thinking this is biased and a hit piece on Kate, she had a chance to tell her side of the story. And I commend Vice for that. You should allow somebody to come on and tell their side of the story. Now, at least the producers of this show were willing to do that. Unfortunately, there's another Darkside series that didn't honor that request. And believe me when I tell you, when I get to that series and I get to those episodes, I'm going to have some shit to say. But I won't do it now. Hannah, now in college, is trying to mend her relationship with her mother. In late 2022, a month after a near-fatal car crash, Colin sits down with Entertainment Tonight to talk about the accident and his estranged family's response. He fell asleep at the wheel and the car was flipped. His family didn't reach out at all. Colin hopes they can all reconnect one day. And that's a good thing to hope for. Now, as much as I hate Kate, and I think I've established that, I will admit Hannah wanting to mend her relationship with her mother is a good thing. Because I don't know if Kate has changed since reality TV. And I am a firm believer that people can change. And who knows? Maybe one day Kate will come out of the public eye. They'll be able to interview her. And we'll find out if she truly has changed her ways. And if she has, then more power to her. I'm not going to take back anything I said in this video. But if she has changed, I hope it's for the better. And I really do hope that Hannah is able to have a relationship. Because if you can have a good relationship with both your parents, that's wonderful. And who knows, maybe one day they will all reconnect. Maybe they will all be a family again. But, again, you can want it, you can wish for it, but you also have to accept the fact that it may never happen. And you got to be at peace with that. It's like, hey, I want it to happen, but if it doesn't, I can live with that. Because if you let it eat you alive, you won't have much of a life. Because that's the sad thing about being estranged from family members. Sometimes there's no reconciliation. Some kids don't want to reconcile with their parents. Some parents don't want to reconcile with their children. Some have good reasons. Some might have stupid reasons. But either way, they're reasons. And you got to be able to pick up the pieces and go on with your life. Not all relationships work out. And it's a gamble. Especially for men. You got to ask yourselves, is this the risk you're willing to take? When you ask a woman to marry you, you're taking the biggest gamble of your life, especially if you don't have a prenup. You got to ask yourself, is that woman worth the risk? Is it worth the possibility of getting divorced and losing everything? Is it the risk of having children and losing custody? getting emotionally attached to something that can easily be taken away from you. That's a risk you're taking. And if you're a man and you found the right woman to take that risk with, I commend you. I salute you. And I hope you have a happy marriage. But if it's not worth the risk, don't pop that question. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, will wrap up this episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside 2000'S. I thank you guys for tuning in. Tune in next week. We're going to have a hell of an episode for you guys. I will be riding solo again, and we'll be getting into something that all kids grew up watching, TRL Last Request. Coming up next week here on the Boochcast. So make sure you guys follow us on all of our podcast platforms. The link is down in the description box below. Follow us on our social media platforms. That link will be in the description box below. And of course, you can support the Boochcast. Go to podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/the Boochcast/support. That link will be down in the description box below. And of course, as always, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the 2000'S, as well as other additional Boochcast YouTube content. We'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, pizza, baby!